Okay, let's dive into this. When you hear the word Paris, what instantly pops into your head? Maybe it's a quiet stroll along the Seine, the dazzling lights of the Eiffel Tower, or perhaps a romantic dinner tucked away in some cozy little bistro, right? Well, in today's explainer, we are going to explore the true face of Paris. We're going way beyond the standard postcards to contrast its beautiful, romantic surface with its hidden, mysterious, and, honestly, surprisingly dark depths. Get ready, because you are about to see the French capital in a way you never have before. So here is our quick roadmap for today. We'll start off with the iconic landmarks and history. Then we'll take a breather in the city's natural beauties and climb up to Montmartre, the absolute heart of art. After that, we're heading deep underground for some hidden secrets before finally wrapping things up with Paris's dark legends. Section 1. Iconic Landmarks and History. But before we get too swept up, I want you to keep this question in the back of your mind as we go along today. Is Paris just the city of romance and light? It is so incredibly easy to get blinded by the sheer beauty of the architecture and the art. Yet, as we'll see, every monument has a shadow, and every single stone has a story, and some of them are pretty unexpected. And this brilliantly illustrates the incredible duality of this city. On one hand, you have the City of Light, celebrated all over the world for its majestic art collections, its lush, sprawling parks, and engineering marvels like the Eiffel Tower. But directly opposing that is the City of Shadows. We're talking about 6 million skeletons resting just beneath the cafes, cursed Templar knights, and legends that will literally make your blood run cold. It's a city of absolute extremes. Let's look at the Louvre, for example. Today, it's the largest art museum in the world, a total must-see holding over 70,000 pieces. But its history? That's a remarkably well-kept secret. Back in the year 1200, it actually wasn't a museum at all. King Philippe Auguste built it as a purely defensive military fortress to protect the city. In fact, the area was known as Louvès, named after the actual female wolves that used to roam those lands. Wild, right? It wasn't until 1364 that it began its transformation into a royal palace, with balconies and gardens. Finally, during the French Revolution in 1793, it opened its doors as France's first state museum. And then, of course, we have the legendary Notre Dame Cathedral. Now, did you know that in the early 19th century, this glorious Gothic masterpiece was actually slated for demolition? It was completely crumbling and unloved. But then in 1831, the great author Victor Hugo published his novel, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. This single piece of literature captured the public's imagination so fiercely that it rallied the people of Paris to save the iconic cathedral from destruction. It's a truly powerful reminder of how art can literally alter the physical landscape of a city. Section 2. The city's natural beauties. Now, these aren't just your average city parks. They are steeped in some serious regal history. The Jardin du Luxembourg, which was commissioned by Queen Marie de Medici back in 1612, remains a favorite haunt for writers and thinkers to this day. Then there's the Jardin des Tuileries, created in 1564. That was originally the private garden of monarchs. It was only after the French Revolution in 1792, when the monarchy fell and the palace was burned by rebels, that these stunning gardens were finally open to the public. And Parc Monceau, built in the 18th century, still features incredibly unique architectural quirks, like a random Egyptian obelisk just sitting there among the trees. Section 3. The Heart of Art, Montmartre. The sheer amount of genius that converged on this one hill is just staggering. Back in the day, art didn't really pay the bills for most people, so creatives flocked to Montmartre simply because it was the cheapest place to live. Take the famous Bateau Lavoir, for instance. It was an old piano workshop turned into studios. It had absolutely no electricity and zero heating. It was freezing and uncomfortable. Yet within those walls, artists like Pablo Picasso worked alongside others to birth entirely new art movements. It's actually said that Cubism itself was born in that freezing, unheated space. Meanwhile, guys like Van Gogh and Renoir were drawing their inspiration from the local windmills, like the iconic Moulin de la Galette. And the artistic spirit of Montmartre is still very much alive today. Just let this number sink in for a second. 250. That is the number of different languages spelling out the phrase, I love you, on a beautiful 40-square-meter wall in the Place des Abbesses. Created in the year 2000 by calligrapher Frederick Barron and a marble artist, Le Mur de Je t'aime proves that romance and art are forever woven into the fabric of this neighborhood. But Montmartre wasn't just about painting and poetry. No, it was fiercely rebellious. Until 1860, it was actually entirely outside the city limits of Paris. The residents here were bohemian, nonconformist, and often totally rejected by conservative Parisian society. This led to a massive cultural rift, culminating in 1870 when the people of Montmartre felt so distant from the rest of Paris that they actually formed their own independent government, known as La Commune. They literally ruled themselves for 3 full months before it came to an end.
Let's move to section 4 and see how this builds into our next topic, hidden secrets and the underground. 6 million. Take a moment to just grasp the sheer weight of that number. As you walk the bustling, romantic streets of Paris today, enjoying a croissant or window shopping for perfume, just 20 meters beneath your feet lie the skeletal remains of over 6 million Parisians. This is Les Catacombs. Originally, these were ancient Roman limestone mines stretching over 190 kilometers beneath the city. But by the 12th to 18th centuries, Paris had a horrific problem on its hands. Open-air cemeteries, particularly the infamous Les Innocents, were overflowing. The conditions were so toxic that the fumes from the plague-ridden bodies were literally asphyxiating people living in the nearby houses. So, to save the city, King Louis XVI ordered the cemeteries closed in 1780. Over the next few decades, the remains were painstakingly moved deep into the old mines, creating the vast, haunting ossuary that visitors still explore today.
Section 5. Our final act, Paris's Dark Legends. Right in the heart of the city, on the Ile de la Cité, lies a horrifying 14th century legend. It is the story of a very gruesome supply chain. As the story goes, a barber would murder his patrons by slitting their throats. He would then transport the dismembered bodies through a secret connecting door to his neighbor, a baker. The baker would then use the human flesh to create incredibly popular meat pies. According to the dark rumors of the time, even King Charles VI was a regular customer, unknowingly eating these cursed pastries. And speaking of the Ile de la Cité, it's also the site of one of history's most famous curses. On Friday, October 13, 1307, King Philippe le Bel, who was desperate for money, teamed up with Pope Clemens to arrest the wealthy Knights Templar. After a really rapid trial filled with accusations, the Templar Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was burned at the stake. Historically, we know for a fact the executions happened. But legend says that as the flames rose, de Molay screamed a fiery curse upon the Pope and the king's lineage. Whether you view this as historical fact or just an enduring myth, it's undeniable that a memorial plaque for Jacques de Molay still hangs in Paris today. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the famous novel, The Phantom of the Opera. Written by Gaston Leroux in 1910, it was actually inspired by eerie, real-life events at the Palais Garnier. Leroux firmly believed a real ghost haunted the opera house. During one actual performance, the grand chandelier tragically fell, killing the spectator sitting in, get this, seat number 13. Furthermore, a stagehand was found hanged, but the rope had mysteriously disappeared, leaving only the marks on his neck. To this day, some artists request a protective iron horseshoe over the stage entrance to ward off the famous phantom. The city is absolutely overflowing with these lingering specters. At the famous Père-Lachaise cemetery, it said the ghosts of writer Marcel Proust and composer Maurice Ravel still wander the tombstones searching for one another. Over at the Tuileries Garden, a ghostly red man, a butcher assassinated by Catherine de' Medici, is said to appear right before times of disaster, even allegedly showing himself to Napoleon. And perhaps the most eerie is the empty lot on Bièvre Street. Legend says a gypsy cursed the land, and every owner died mysteriously. In 1943, German soldiers entered the building to demolish it, and all died of an unknown illness. Today, 81 years later, that prime piece of Parisian real estate remains completely empty. No one dares to build on it. So, the crucial takeaway here is this. Paris is a masterpiece of a city. It's a place where extreme beauty, incredible tourist sites, and deep, dark history are layered directly on top of one another. The bright Impressionist paintings of Montmartre are just as much a part of its soul as the limestone catacombs, holding 6 million souls. So I leave you with this. Is it the city of love or the capital of fear? Knowing what lies just beneath the cobblestones, will you ever look at Paris the same way again?